everybody, it's Mr. Wesley. We just say we get down to doing some serious artwork. Okay. Remember that last video I told you that the video editor that I am using only allows for 1 hour or less of recorded video? The way that I am handling that issue is with this little gadget here. It's a battery operated digital timer. It's set for 55 minutes. So when it goes off, I know I got just a hair under 5 minutes to properly finish the video the way it's supposed to be done. So with that in mind, yes, I already screwed it up. Oh, Lord have mercy. What was I doing? I was doing one of these practice faces. And of course, you know me, I don't remember what I'm doing from 1 minute to the next. Of course, there's the ear here. So if instead of that straight line I do anyway. Yeah. That's not the best thing I've done. Anyway, the topic of conversation for this video, if I can do this right today, there are 3 forms of visual art. Painting is an art form you can look at, sculpture is an art you can walk around, and architecture is an art you can walk through. Dan Rice. Now when it comes to painting, we have a lot of examples of paintings to look at. We can start with the old masters like Rembrandt, Van Gogh, Picasso, Dali, Renoir, Monet, Matisse, Michelangelo, Manet, Vermeer, Cezanne. See, that's just a few, very few. You ever wonder why those old masters gravitated towards paint as their medium? You ever wonder why they do that? Well, it turns out There's a reason for that. Of course, I'm not ready to do this. Oh, I don't want that. It turns out that the pencil that we know of today didn't exist back in the day when those old masters were alive. As a matter of fact, the modern pencil as we know it today was invented by Nicolas Jacques Conté in 1795. This French inventor revolutionized the design of the pencil by developing a process to mix graphite powder with clay and forming it into rods that were then baked. This method allowed for the creation of pencils that were both more durable and capable of producing consistent marks, a significant advancement over previous writing instruments. Conté's inventions came about during a time of great need. In the late 18th century, Europe was facing a shortage of pure graphite, which had been the primary material for pencils since its discovery in England's Borrowdale mines in the 16th century. This scarcity was particularly felt in France, which, amid the political and economic turmoil following the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars, found itself cut off from the supply of British graphite. Seeking a solution, Conté, who was an officer in Napoleon's army and a talented engineer, experimented with various compositions and processes. His breakthrough was the discovery that mixing graphite with clay and then firing it in a kiln could produce a material that was not only as good as pure graphite for writing and drawing, but also had several advantages. The hardness of the pencil could be altered by adjusting the ratio of graphite to clay, leading to the creation of pencils with varying degrees of softness and darkness. This was a significant improvement, offering artists and writers more control over their work. Furthermore, Conté's method of encasing the graphite clay mixture in wood made the pencils easier to handle and less messy. This design is still the basis for most wooden pencils produced today. While Conté is credited with the invention of the modern pencil, it's important to note that his work was built upon centuries of advancements in writing tools. From the ancient Egyptians' reed pens to the Romans' metal styluses and the early use of graphite in the 16th century, the development of the pencil was a gradual evolution reflecting humanity's enduring quest to record and communicate ideas. And I'm willing to say that that was more talking in that one page than I normally do in an average, let's say, week, if not month. Yeah. So that's why, that's why anytime you hear about those old masters, it's about their painting. And it's because they didn't have pencils to work with. Well, maybe we should have done something about that. Somebody did. Okay, where was I? I'm just kind of guessing at what I'm doing here. That nose is way too big. Yeah, I don't have the ability. Boy. How do I fix looking at that? Ow, 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 ow. Do. How do you fix it like this? I'll be all out of shape. What am I doing here? Think. I got another one. I do. No. That's not. That don't work. Boy. That's definitely not it. I'm curious. This is going to frustrate the living daylights out of me. You can tell I'm no good at. That's not. You want that. You want this. So did you ever wonder why painting as a medium is so popular? Why does everybody, gravitate towards painting as opposed to other forms of art? Why is there so many people involved? Why is it so popular? Why is painting so popular as opposed to other forms of art? And yep, it got my attention too. So turns out there's a reason for that. Painted art is important because it has intellectual and spiritual benefits. It serves as a mindfulness practice, a communication tool, and a form of therapy. Additionally, paintings preserve and transmit cultural values and beliefs. Art is also a powerful medium for creative expression, self-discovery, and experimentation. Some of history's most famous art pieces are paintings. Think the Mona Lisa, the Starry Night, or the Kiss. People travel from all over the world to visit museums and gaze at paintings from periods like Impressionism, Realism, and Cubism. Some people go beyond just looking and beginning painting themselves. Why are paintings so important? That's a good question. Well, here are a few reasons. Paintings increase cultural appreciation. Learning about and appreciating different cultures comes with many benefits. It's also part of living in the world as a global citizen. Studying paintings is a good way to develop cultural appreciation, especially for young people who may not have much exposure to other cultures beyond their own. True cultural appreciation goes beyond looking at painting. It's also important to dig into the context of an art style, who the artist was, and what they were trying to communicate. Painting helps people learn history. Art mirrors and comments on the time it was created. Studying paintings from different periods sheds light on the worldviews of the time. Many paintings depict specific events and important people, as an artist's perspective is different from reading about it in a textbook. For many students, especially visual learners, learning history through art helps them absorb information better. Not everybody learns in a classroom setting. Some of us are better learners by actually physically doing it. Painting boosts creativity. When you paint, you're using both sides of your brain. Experts used to think that people were either left-brained or right-brained, and that creativity was found on the right side. New research suggests that's not the case. Following a stroke that affected the left side of his brain, an artist struggled to make new art. He eventually regained the motor skills necessary to draw, but while he could copy images, coming up with something original was difficult. Researchers believe that this showed that both sides of the brain were involved in creating art. The more you paint, the more you use your entire brain and improve your creative skills. Painting can improve your focus. When you paint, you're stimulating the parts of your brain responsible for concentrating and memory. For people with ADHD, which includes symptoms like struggling with focus, art therapy can help them stay more engaged. To boost your brain's ability to focus, try painting with as few distractions as possible. If you're studying a painting, focus your brain by looking for focal points, interesting compositions, color patterns, and more. Painting can improve problem-solving skills. When you take up painting, you know that skills like creativity and focus will most likely improve. Painting can help you become a better problem solver. Every artist makes mistakes. Recognizing a mistake and figuring out how to fix it exercises the problem-solving part of your brain. Painters are good at adapting and thinking outside the box. The more you paint, the sharper your critical thinking and problem-solving skills become. It can be difficult to communicate your feelings. This is especially true with challenging feelings like anger and grief. Trauma is very difficult to articulate. Too many psychologists recommend art therapy for their clients. It helps your feelings without words. It helps release your feelings without words and puts you in a more regulated, relaxed state. Looking at paintings and learning about artists who struggle with their emotions can help too. It's cathartic to see representation of emotions on canvas. Painting can improve self-esteem. Research indicates that when kids participate in the arts, they enjoy a boost of confidence and self-esteem. They don't even need to be particularly good at painting. One study published in the Annals of the New York Academy of Sciences took a look at 6,209 students from the United Kingdom Millennium Cohort Study. Most of the data came from the interviews when they were 11 years old. Students who engaged in creative activities most days were more likely to have high self-esteem than students who had fewer opportunities. The reasons why aren't quite clear, but the researchers believe it could be because creating art helps kids form a unique identity and feel accomplished. Looking at painting increases the blood flow to the brain. You know that painting stimulates the brain, but just looking at painting has an effect too. Years ago, Professor Seymour Zaki, I think that's his name, chaired in a neuroaesthetics at University College London, conducted an experiment where he scanned people's brains. As they looked at a beautiful painting, it didn't matter whether it was landscape, portrait, or still life. When people looked at art, they found beautiful blood flow to certain parts of the brain increased by as much as 10%. It's similar to what happens when you look at someone you love. Why does this matter? Experiencing pleasurable things like looking at paintings or going for a walk in a forest directly impacts a person's well-being. Painting can improve mental health. Speaking of well-being, painting is linked to reduced stress and better mental health. That goes against the stereotype of the tortured artist. Studies find that paintings and other therapy can play a role in treating mental illness. When you stimulate your brain through art, it's easier to relax. This lowers your stress and helps you manage symptoms of anxiety and depression. Painting can improve health in your older years. A study from the Mayo Clinic found that painting can help prevent the memory and cognition problems that often pop up later in life. Those who identify as artists are less likely to suffer cognitive impairment than those who don't engage in art at all. Other research shows that people at risk for Alzheimer's and dementias benefit significantly from drawing and painting. The earlier you start, the better the benefits, but it's never too late to try painting. So how many of you can honestly say you knew all of that? I sure some didn't. I actually had to look it all up. That's not something you're born knowing. And odds are, unless your brain tells you to ask the question, you ain't never going to know it. Hmm. Boy, my eyes. Eyesight's going to hell. Just like my life. Going to hell in a handbasket. Do, 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 do. Yeah, that's... It's going to take me some time. Speaking of time, less than 30 minutes. So do you ever wonder why a sculptor is No, I wonder what I did with that. Okay. Do you ever wonder why sculpture is considered an art? Yeah. Me too. Yeah. Sculpture, an artistic form in which hard or plastic materials are worked into three-dimensional art objects. The designs may be embodied in freestanding objects, in reliefs, on surfaces, or in environments ranging from tableau to context that envelop the spectator. An enormous variety of media may be used, including clay, wax, stone, metal, fabric, glass, wood, plaster, rubber, and random found objects. Materials may be carved, modeled, molded, cast, wrought, welded, sewn, assembled, or otherwise shaped and combined. Sculptor is not a fixed term that applies to a permanently circumscribed category of objects or sets of activities. It's rather the name of an art that grows and changes and is continually extending the range of its activities and involving new kinds of objects. The scope of the term was much wider in the second half of the 20th century than it had been only 2 or 3 decades before. And in the fluid state of the visual arts in the 21st century, nobody can predict what its future extensions are likely to be. Certain features which in previous centuries were considered essential to the art of sculpture are not present in a great deal of modern sculpture and can no longer form part of its definition. One of the most important of these is representation. Before the 20th century, sculpture was considered a representational art, one that imitated forms in life, most often human figures, but also inanimate objects such as game, utensils, and books. Since the turn of the 20th century, however, sculpture has also included non-representational forms. It has long been accepted that the forms of such functional three-dimensional objects as furniture, pots, and buildings may be expressive and beautiful without being in any way representational. But it was only in the 20th century that the non-functional, non-representational, three-dimensional works of art began to be produced. Before the 20th century was considered primarily an art of solid form or mass. It is true that the negative elements of sculpture, the voids and hollows within and between its solid forms, have always been to some extent an integral part of its design, but their role was a secondary one. In a great deal of modern sculpture, however, the focus of attention has shifted and the spatial aspects have become dominant. Spatial sculpture is now a generally accepted branch of the art of sculpture. It was also taken for granted in the sculpture of the past that its components were of a constant shape and size, with the exception of items such as Augustus St. Gaudens' Diana, a monumental weather vane that did not move. With the recent development of kinetic sculpture, neither the immobility nor the immutability of its form can any longer be considered essential to the art of sculpture. Finally, sculpture since the 20th century has not been confined to the two traditional forming processes of carving and modeling, or to such traditional natural materials as stone, metal, wood, ivory, bone, and clay, because they present-day sculptors use any materials and methods of manufacture that will serve their purpose. The art of sculpture can no longer be identified with any special materials or techniques. Through all these changes, there is probably only one thing that has remained constant in the art of sculpture. It is this that emerges as the central and abiding concern of sculptors. The art of sculpture is the branch of the visual arts that is especially concerned with the creation of form in 3 dimensions. Sculpture may be either round or in relief. A sculpture in the round is a separate, detached object in its own right. Leading the same kind of independent existence in space as human body or a chair. A relief does not have this kind of independence. It projects form and is attached to or is an integral part of something else that serves either as a background against which it is set or a matrix from which it emerges. The actual three-dimensionality of sculpture in the round limits its scope in certain respects in comparison with the scope of painting. Sculpture cannot conjure the illusion of space by purely optical means or invest its forms with atmosphere and light as painting can. It does have a kind of reality, a vivid physical presence that is denied to the pictorial arts. The form of sculpture are tangible as well as visible, and they can appeal strongly and directly to both tactile and visual sensibilities. Even the visually impaired, including those who are congenially blind, like me, can produce and appreciate certain kinds of sculpture. It was in fact argued by the 20th century art critic Sir Herbert Reed that sculptures should be regarded as primarily as an art, that the roots of sculptural sensibility can be traced to the pleasure one experiences in fondling things. All three-dimensional forms are perceived as having an expressive character as well as purely geometric properties. They strike the observer as delicate, aggressive, flowing, taut, and relaxed, dynamic, soft, and so on. By exploiting the expressive qualities of form, a sculptor is able to create images in which subject matter and expressiveness of form are mutually reinforcing. Such images go beyond the mere presentation of fact and communicate a wide range of subtle and powerful feelings. The aesthetics of raw material of sculpture is, so to speak, the whole realm of expressive three-dimensional form. A sculptor may draw upon what already exists in the endless variety of natural and man-made form, or it may be an art of pure invention. It has been used to express a vast range of human emotions and feelings, from most tender and delicate to the most violent and aesthetic. All human beings intimately involved from birth with the world of three-dimensional form learn something of its structural expressive properties and develop emotional responses to them. This combination of understanding and sensitive response, are often called a sense of form, can be cultivated and refined. It is to this sense of form that the art of sculpture primarily appeals. Yep. Okay. Anyway. Right about here. A bit better. No. That's way out of whack. Yeah, that's way out of whack. My brain is wandering onto more things than it can possibly handle processing. And as a direct result, make things look wrong. not straight like that at all. I mean, you can tell that I'm out of practice. I haven't done this in a while. Boy, the Tombow erasers get work out what I'm trying to do. I don't want to make an exact copy of what I'm looking at, but get it close enough to make it look real anyway, and I'm just not doing that today. That's too high up. Yeah, I need to bring that down. You. Probably as close as I'm going to get to that. Details, 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 details. Yeah. So I started this practice of drawing heads and faces months and months ago, and I put it down because it got to the point where I could not physically do it anymore. So now that I am back, I'd love to be able to finish it, but it's going to take more than one video, that's for damn sure. Anyway, this video was supposed to be a lesson in art and history, or how art played a role in history. And yeah, you're probably tired of hearing about it by now. Yeah. Where'd it go? That don't look anything like a human face. Unless you're talking about paper mache puppet. Why am I not able to figure that out? Well, I'm telling you, if it wasn't for combo erasers, I think I'd be SOL. stuff. Yeah. Done what I can with that one. Anyway, so that's your lesson in art and history. As suspected, it will take more than one video though. Yeah. So I think I'll cut this video off right where I'm at.